Okay, we're live now.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we have quorum, I see.
Yeah, looks like we do have a quorum now. I will say I'm noticing that some people might be losing signal. Seems like some people are kind of joining the call, then dropping off and coming back. So that won't prevent you from having a quorum right now. Just in the event that you want to notice if somebody doesn't respond to you, they might be on mute or they might have dropped off. So not sure if there's just low bandwidth or something today.
Okay. At this time, I'd like to welcome everyone to the regular meeting for Caddo Parish Commission. Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Commissioner Hopkins.
Here.
Commissioner Johnson.
Here.
Commissioner Jackson.
Here.
Commissioner Young.
Present.
Commissioner Burrell. Commissioner Burrell, I'm not sure if there's a commissioner's iPad that's logged in that I don't see a name to yet, but we'll mark him as absent for now. Commissioner Cawthorn.
Present.
Thank you. Commissioner Gage Watts. Commissioner Talaferro.
Here, sir. That's probably my iPad.
Oh, great. Thank you very much. That explains that one. Commissioner Atkins. Commissioner Chavez.
Here, sir.
Commissioner Lazarus.
Here.
And Commissioner Epperson.
Here.
Okay, great. I'm counting 9 present and 3 absent. That does constitute a quorum.
Okay. At this time, I ask Commissioner Jackson, would you do the invocation, and Commissioner Epperson would do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Commissioner
Jackson.
I'm so sorry. Could everybody please bow their heads and let's clear our hearts and mind and go to God in prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, we come here today to say thank you. Thank you for life, for health, and for strength. Thank you for waking us up for another day, God. We know that Judgment Day is coming, and we want to be able to say that we've done your will and not our own wills, Lord. But we ask that you bless the leaders of this community, those of us who are charged, and those of us who wake up every day to do the work of your people. God, we ask that you look over us and protect our families and our friends, Lord. We ask that you protect our first responders and those who are fighting on the front line of this pandemic. These are many of the blessings we ask. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, I would ask that all military and veterans render the traditional hand to brow salute, all others hand across your heart. And please do not repeat the pledge in unison because of the feedback on the Zoom call, and I will recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic of which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Jackson and Commissioner Epperson, for those. At this time, we'll have Commissioner Epperson wanted to give a brief message on something.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman and my fellow colleagues, commission staff, and all the listeners tuning in. I just wanted to make sure that we were all aware that the 4th Sunday in September has been designated as Gold Star Mothers and Families Day. The Gold Star designation is rendered upon an individual's parents when he or she loses their life on behalf of this nation in military combat. And at this time, I would ask that Commission Clerk Jeff Everson would read the generic proclamation that we have prepared.
One moment while I call that up. Just one sec. Do you want me to share it on the screen as well?
Yes, sir, please do.
Absolutely. Sorry, I've got so many screens open. It's taking me a minute to find the right one. Okay, here. Sorry. It reads a proclamation, Gold Star Mothers and Family Day. Whereas on June 23rd, 1936, the U.S. Congress passed a joint congressional resolution that designated the last Sunday in September as Gold Star Mothers Day. And whereas the history of Gold Star Mothers Day dates back to World War I, when it became the custom of military families to hang a service flag near their front window. These flags featured a blue star for each family member actively serving in the U.S. Armed Forces. And the Gold Star flag appeared when mothers who lost sons in the war sewed gold stars over the blue stars. And whereas the parish of Caddo recognizes the gold star on service flags as a symbol of the soldiers who have fallen in the line of duty protecting our freedom and our nation. And whereas we honor those members of our community who have lost a son or daughter, making the ultimate sacrifice in service to our country, and recognize that in an instant, this family is thrust into a group in which none want to lay claim, one defined by selflessness, humility, and grace, that of a Gold Star family. And whereas the debt our fallen warriors and their families make is one for which our country can never return or sufficiently express our gratitude, for in their sacrifice, Americans enjoy the freedom and liberty on which our country was founded, and we recognize the sacrifice that every Gold Star family has made and will continue to make, living each day with the memory of their loved one and their thoughts. And whereas we pray for peace and comfort to come to the hearts as they know that we have etched the name of their fallen soldier, Marine, sailor, airman, or Coast Guardsman in our hearts with them. And whereas on this day, we remember our commitment to Gold Star mothers and families who carry on with pride and courage despite grieving terrible loss. And now therefore be it resolved by the Caddo Parish Commission, meeting in legal and regular session on this 23rd day of September 2021, proclaim September 26, 2021 as Gold Star Mother and Family Day in Caddo Parish, Louisiana, commend the observance to all our citizens, and encourage all citizens of Caddo Parish to join in the recognition and appreciation of these courageous and generous patriot mothers and families. And that's signed from the commission body and District 12 Commissioner.
You're muted, Commissioner Everson.
Fellow commissioners and members that are listening, if you would note that the proclamation was written in generic terms where it can apply to anyone. I would ask that if any commissioners or any staff members or any of our listeners know of a mother or a family that lost a member during combat while serving, that they will contact the commission clerk, and we will certainly supply them with a copy of this proclamation, as well as a letter recognizing their fallen warrior. I have two that I know of that I always traditionally remember. The first one is Dakota Hughes. He's a native of Greenwood, Louisiana.
Hello.
Greenwood.
What's going on?
Hey there, Kenny.
Hey, I'm sorry. Somebody.
You at the house?
Yeah.
That's Mr. Burrell.
Look, this what I did right
Mr.
here.
Burrell need to mute.
I'm on Lakeshore heading. Actually, I
Sorry,
think
let
this
me
gonna
get
be
back to where I
south.
can mute him for.
Let me see.
On Lakeshore.
I'm on Lakeshore. I'm on Lakeshore Drive. I'm at the red light right here right now by Family Dollar, and it's a soul food burger down south.
Okay,
Yeah,
just
Okay, sorry. He was at the very bottom of my list. And I had to find that profile to mute him, but I apologize. On the screen, you should see the picture of Mr. Dakota Hughes.
Right.
Commissioner Epperson, we can't hear you if you might be muted.
Lance Corporal Dakota Hughes of Greenwood, Louisiana. He's a graduate of Huntington High School. He knew what he wanted to do at the age of 17. He asked his mother if he could get permission to enter the Marines on the delayed entry program. She did sign for him to enter the Marines, and he died November the 9th, 2010, serving during Operation Enduring Freedom at the ripe young age of 19 years old in the Helmand province in Afghanistan while conducting combat operations. And we are going to send Miss Donna Hughes, his mother, a copy of the proclamation. And we will never forget the sacrifice on behalf of Miss Hughes, as well as the ultimate sacrifice that Dakota made on behalf of this nation. We named a street in Greenwood in his neighborhood in his honor, and also the town of Greenwood has a memorial plaque in the park recognizing him. The other honoree that I always recognize and console his family is Staff Sergeant Richard Vazquez. He's from Dakota Parish. He too entered the military immediately after graduation from high school, from Sickle High School. He enlisted in the United States Army in August of 2004. After 6 years being in the military, basically in a role where he would have been safe for combat, he volunteered to become a ranger, which would put him further in harm's way with special forces. He graduated from the Special Forces qualification in 2010. As a result, he died of his injuries in the Kandahar, Afghanistan on November the 13th, 2013. And he's survived by his parents, Ms. Teresa Patty, his mother, and Teodoro Vazquez Lopez, his father. And we don't want to ever forget the sacrifices that they made. Also, a portion of Highway 175 in Dakota Parish was renamed in honor of Staff Sergeant Richard Vazquez. Thank you all.
Thank you, Commissioner Epperson. Next item, Mr. Clerk.
That brings us to agenda additions. And when we distributed the agenda, we did kind of make a reference to what may look a little bit different on this agenda. We have had in the past a motion to approve consideration of the agenda under Louisiana Revised Statutes 42:17.1. This time there are some items that the presiding officer, President Johnson, allowed to be on the agenda, but did want to make sure that we had explicit approval to be in compliance with the Louisiana Revised Statutes, and so they've been broken out separately. Commissioner Johnson, did you want to speak to that more, or?
Yes. At this time, can you put the eligibility checklist up?
I can.
So I wanted everyone to see how the selection of what goes on the agenda, what doesn't go on the agenda. And the ones that we're about to vote on, those do not qualify. Those do not qualify based up on number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. So we go down to number 7, and it would take a 2/3 vote in order to have those to go on. Initially, my vote was no on those, based upon they didn't qualify through 1 through 6. But if the body does a 2/3 vote on those, then I will support it and put it on the agenda. So at this time, we'll take each one separately and vote on each one.
Okay.
Some
Hey,
questions.
Chairman, I had a question on that.
Yes, sir.
When you say if we take a 2/3 vote, you'll put on the agenda, does that take place today? Or does it
Yes.
like on the fall on the, okay. Thank you. That's it.
And just for clarity's sake, in terms of how this may work and to point out the difference between agenda addition, if you were to do an agenda addition today, that would require unanimous consent of the body. These are items that have already been introduced and noticed appropriately through at a previous meeting that may have taken place in person. They were on a consent agenda. And so they are technically on your agenda already. And if you pass them with this 2/3 vote, you'll be able to hear them by teleconference. If these items do not receive a 2/3 vote, you will have to skip them on the agenda and take them up in the next in-person meeting. Does that make sense?
Commissioner Hopkins.
Yeah, and that's what I wanted to point out. These items were on that Monday work session. We approved to move to Thursday, and then we didn't have that Thursday meeting because of the COVID scare. So they actually are on the agenda then. They just now making it back under these rules. That's all I had.
Okay, Commissioner Jackson.
Yes, thank you. Let me say that I think what we had was a, and if can somebody put the checklist back up? I saw it a moment ago. And I think if I understand what you're saying, Commissioner Johnson, is that the reason why you didn't add them under the original agendas was that they didn't fall under those original criterias. Is that correct?
Statements 1 through 6.
1 through 6, right. And so other matters, that's kind of what I was asking on Monday about the other matters. So it is appropriate if we, as a 3/4, I'm sorry, if we as a 3/4 majority decide that we do want to add some other more pressing issues to the agenda. Is that how I'm understanding it?
It would be a 2/3 vote, and
2/3,
yeah,
okay.
I would still have to agree to it.
Okay, Attorney Frazier, is it 2/3 and then the president still has to agree, or I thought it was a 2/3 and they go on? So I'm lost again. I'm sorry.
Basically, the statute says other matters that are critical or time sensitive and that in the determination of the presiding officer should not be delayed. So that's
Right.
the first hurdle. Then the second hurdle has to be the 2/3 vote.
So we basically have a two-step process that we need to go through real quick for these other items. Is that?
That's yes.
So the president needs to determine if those items can go on, and then if he determines those items don't go on, we could go through the 2/3 process.
No, if he determines that the items don't go on, you don't even get to the vote. The way the statute is written.
So he has already determined that in his view, these meet that.
Okay. So now we're doing the 2/3 vote now.
Correct.
Okay.
So
okay.
basically, we're gonna vote on each one.
Okay.
If it's a 2/3 vote, then we'll make a motion to add these to the agenda as amended. And then that's when my vote will count as a yes.
Actually, you won't need to take that step. It because of the way that the state legislation reads, they're technically on there already. And if they meet the 2/3, you'll be able to hear them. If they don't meet the 2/3, they'll have to be skipped.
Correct.
So we only have one step right now.
Correct.
The first step has been met, yes, and now
Okay.
you're on the second step.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Is everyone clear?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Commissioner Evers.
I move for adoption of motion of 4.1 on the agenda.
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Everson, seconded by Commissioner
Jackson.
To move to approve Ordinance 6102 to be added to the agenda, teleconference agenda. Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Commissioner Hopkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson.
No,
Commis- What's that?
no,
Okay. Commissioner Jackson,
Yes.
Commissioner Young,
Yes.
Commissioner Burrell,
yes,
Commissioner Cawthorn. Commissioner Cawthorn, if you spoke, I did not hear it. Has he dropped off? Commissioner Gage Watts, Commissioner Taliaferro,
No.
Commissioner Atkins, Commissioner Chavez,
No.
Commissioner Lazarus,
Yes.
and Commissioner Epperson.
Yes.
Okay, it doesn't look like it has 2/3. I'm counting 6 in support and 3 absent, and 3 no's. Is that correct? 6
yes.
in
And 3.
support, 3 okay, and 3. Just want to make sure I heard that correctly and that everybody who intended to vote was able to vote.
Mr. Everson, this was on 13-1. Was this 4-1 or 13-1?
For item 13 to hear item 13.1 on the agenda, which is the introduction of a zoning ordinance.
Okay, so
It's in-
District 10, then change mine to a yes. I'm sorry.
Okay. And then let's see. And I just want to make certain, because I was hearing some feedback during the vote. So I've got 7 yays. I've got 1, 2 nays, 7, 2, and then I've got 3 absent. Is that correct?
Yeah.
That's 2/3 of the of the ones present.
So of those
It's
present,
not,
yes, so
it's
that,
not 2/3 of the body, or is it who's in attendance?
It's
I believe
2/3 of who's in attendance per the
Okay.
legislature.
Yeah, present members. So that does carry. So that vote changes the outcome of that. So that
What
one,
ordinance was that? Jeff?
that's the introduction of a zoning ordinance, 13.1 on your agenda.
Oh, okay.
It is, tell you one real quick, I'm flipping back to it. It's,
Okay.
it's on the north side of Ellerby Road at the end of Redrick Drive, zoning change from single family residential to C1 neighborhood commercial.
And whose district is that?
I believe that's Mario's district,
Oh, okay. Just
or
checking.
either John Atkins's district. It's very close to their district line.
Okay.
Commissioner Epperson.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. I would like to move that we vote on 4-2, motion to approve introduction of ordinance number 6103 of 2021, which will be item 14.1 on this agenda.
Second.
Been moved by Commissioner Epperson, seconded by Commissioner Jackson to move to add item 14.1 to the teleconference agenda. Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Okay, Commissioner Hopkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson. I'm sorry, I believe I heard a rooster somewhere.
That's got to be odd.
Commissioner Johnson, I'm sorry, your vote?
No.
Okay, Commissioner Jackson,
Yes.
Commissioner Young,
Yes.
Commissioner Burrell,
yes,
Commissioner Cawthorn, Commissioner Gage Watts, Commissioner Taliaferro,
No.
Commissioner Atkins, Commissioner Chavez,
No.
Commissioner Lazarus,
Yes.
and Commissioner Epperson.
Yes.
Okay, that motion does not carry. It's got 6 in support, 3 in opposition, and 3 absent.
Isn't 6 2/3 of 9?
You know what? It is. You are correct. I'm sorry, it does carry. You all got me confused with so many distracting noises going on in the background. You got my arithmetic off. Thank you for pointing that out.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we motion to approve consideration of resolution 65 of 2021 under LARS 42:17.1.
Second.
Been moved by Commissioner Jackson, seconded by Commissioner Everson to add 16.2 to the teleconference agenda. Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Is there discussion on these or we just voting?
We're gonna discuss it if it makes it. There's
Okay.
no need to discuss it, if it don't make it. Roll call.
Okay. Roll call. This is for 4.3. And Commissioner Hopkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
No.
Commissioner Jackson,
Yes.
Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Burrell,
Yes.
Commissioner Cawthorn, Commissioner Gage Watts, Commissioner Talaferro,
No.
Commissioner Atkins, Commissioner Chavez,
Yes.
Commissioner Lazarus,
Yes.
and Commissioner Epperson.
Yes.
All right, that's got 7 in support, 2 in opposition, and 3 absent. That motion does carry. And then the next item is the one 4.4, which is concerning the Juvenile Justice Committee.
I move.
Second.
Been moved by Commissioner Everson, seconded by Commissioner Hopkins to add item number 17.1 to the teleconference agenda. Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Commissioner Hopkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
No.
Commissioner Jackson,
Yes.
Commissioner Young,
Yes.
Commissioner Burrell,
Yes.
Commissioner Cawthorn, Commissioner Gage Watts, Commissioner Talaferro,
No.
Commissioner Atkins, Commissioner Chavez,
Yes.
Commissioner Lazarus,
Yes.
and Commissioner Epperson.
Yes.
All right, that motion carries with 7 in support, 2 in opposition, and 3 absent. And that brings us to 4.5, which is the motion to approve the consideration of the other items on the agenda. This is the general one that you typically have on.
So move, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Been
Second.
moved by
Second.
Commissioner Everson, seconded by Commissioner Burrell. Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Hopkins,
Yes.
Mr. Johnson,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes.
Young,
Yes.
I'm sorry, Commissioner Burrell,
Yes.
Commissioner Cawthorn, Commissioner Gage Watts, Commissioner Talaferro,
Yes.
Commissioner Atkins, Commissioner Chavez,
Yes.
Commissioner Lazarus,
Yes.
and Commissioner Epperson.
Yes.
All right, that motion carries with, let's see, that's 9 in support and 3 absent, none in opposition. And that brings us to the point on your agenda where the certificate of teleconference is attached. There's no action required. Would you like me to proceed to the next agenda item?
Yes, sir.
All right, that's citizens' comments. Citizens are asked to address the commission by either filling out a comment card before the meeting electronically or by calling in during the meeting. The number, should somebody want to call in during the meeting, is 318-226-6596. Again, that number is 318-226-6596. We have received one public comment electronically today. And would you like me to go ahead and read that?
Yes.
Okay. This comment comes from Tabitha Taylor. Ms. Taylor is also a Shreveport City Council person, and she shares, I would like to offer my support for Commissioner Johnson's legislation on curfews. Councilman Nicholson and I have tweaked our legislation with the approval of the administration. It will be on next week's City Council agenda, and I think our bodies working together in unison is a very good thing. She continues, I also support setting up the TIF district on your agenda today with the provisions that the NLEP's Mr. Dixon outlined during your recent Economic Development Committee meeting and what we discussed in the meeting, ensuring that no new taxes are levied. Commissioner Jackson has my support on this. And that concludes her comment. Linda, do we have any callers on the line at this time?
No, sir, no callers.
I don't see any either. Do you want to give it a few more seconds, or do you want to move on to the next agenda item?
Let's move.
Move on.
Okay, the next item, we don't have any special resolution. I'm sorry, we don't have any visitors scheduled for today. So the next item is to adopt the regular session minutes from your September 9th meeting.
So move, Mr. Chairman.
Then moved by Commissioner Everson, seconded by the chair to adopt the regular session minutes from September the 9th. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Hopkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson,
Yes.
Commissioner Young,
Yes.
Commissioner Burrell,
Yes.
and Commissioner Cawthorn. Commissioner Gage Watts, Commissioner Talaferro,
Yes.
Commissioner Atkins, Commissioner Chavez,
Yes.
Commissioner Lazarus,
Yes.
and Commissioner Epperson.
Yes.
All right, that passes with 9 in support, none in opposition, and 3 absent.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
would you please ask that all individuals that aren't speaking, please mute their devices? And this isn't a game. I think we've been doing this long enough to act more intelligent and have better decorum than we have at this point in time. Thank you.
Can everyone please mute if you're not about to talk? Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, let me inject this early on. I do have a function for 6 o'clock that I'm going to have to be leaving for with the boys club. So I just wanted you to know early on if there's something I need to vote on early.
Okay. Next item, Mr. Clerk.
All right, next item is going to be special resolutions. We don't have any special resolutions on the agenda today, so that'll bring us to public hearings on zoning ordinances and cases. There is one item for this section of public hearings. It's a public hearing for ordinance number 6083 of 2021 in regards to zoning case number 21-13-P. It's an ordinance to amend volume 2 of the Code of Ordinances of the Parish of Caddo as amended, the Caddo Parish Unified Development Code, by amending the zoning of property located on the north side of Florner Lucas Road, approximately 515 feet west of Winder Weedle Road, Caddo Parish, Louisiana, from RA Rural Agricultural District to RA PUD, a Rural Agricultural Planned Unit Development District, and to otherwise provide with respect thereto. This is in Commissioner Epperson's District 12.
Public hearing is now open for ordinance 6083 of 2021.
And
May I
that
give
phone
that-
number, that
Yes.
phone number, should anybody want to call in, again, is 226-6596. That's 226-6596. I do not seem to see any phone calls coming in. Would you like to,
Item?
okay. Do you want to declare the hearing closed?
Yeah, declare the public hearing for 6083 is now closed.
Thank you. And then that brings us to public hearings on ordinances. We have a few today. And so would you like me to go ahead and just begin?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to read them and I'll just restate that phone number real quick. 318-226-6596 should somebody want to call in regarding items that will be open for public hearing in a moment. The first is a public hearing for ordinance number 6099 of 2021. It's an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the American Rescue Plan Fund to provide an appropriation for vaccine and pandemic coordination efforts and to otherwise provide with respect thereto. The next item is a public hearing for ordinance number 6101 of 2021, an ordinance amending and reenacting section 32-46.1 of the Caddo Parish Code of Ordinances regarding the carrying of weapons and otherwise providing with respect thereto. The next item is a public hearing for ordinance number 6104 of 2021. It's an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the Building Maintenance Fund, Capital Improvement Fund, General Fund, Parks and Recreation Fund, Oil and Gas Fund, Public Works Fund, Detention Facilities Fund, Juvenile Justice Fund, Riverboat Fund, and the Solid Waste Fund for the year 2021, and to terminate completed or lapsed capital projects and to otherwise provide with respect thereto. The next item is a public hearing for ordinance number 6105 of 2021. It's an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the E. Edward Jones Housing Trust Fund for the year 2021 to appropriate emergency rental assistance program from the state of Louisiana and to otherwise provide with respect thereto. The next item is a public hearing for ordinance number 6106 of 2021. It's an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the E. Edward Jones Housing Trust Fund for the year 2021 to reduce the budget for the Emergency Rental Assistance Program 2 and to otherwise provide with respect thereto. The next item is a public hearing for ordinance number 6107 of 2021, an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues for the American Rescue Plan Fund to provide an appropriation of up to $30,000 for the Martin Luther King Homeowners Association and otherwise provide with respect thereto. The next item is a public hearing for ordinance number 6108 of 2021. It's an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the Parks and Recreation Fund to appropriate No Kid Hungry grant proceeds in the amount of $49,925 and to otherwise provide with respect thereto. And the final item in this section is a public hearing for ordinance number 6110 of 2021. It's an ordinance amending section 8-8 to expand training opportunities for animal control officers. Commissioner Johnson, at this time, did you want to declare the public hearing open?
Yes, public hearing is now open for ordinance 6101, 6104, 6105, 6106, 6107, 6108, and 6110.
Thank you. And again, at that phone number, should anybody want to call in to speak on any of these items, is 318-226-6596. Again, that's 318-226-6596. I don't see any phone calls on my end. Linda, do you have any phone calls on?
No, sir, no calls.
Okay. Do you want to give it a little longer, Commissioner Johnson, or you want to move on to the closing the hearing?
Public hearing is now closed on those ordinances.
Thank you very much. That brings us to the next section, which is zoning ordinances for final passage. Again, the one item in this section is the one that you just had a public hearing on. This is ordinance number 6083 of 2021 in regards to zoning case number 21-13-P. It's an ordinance to amend volume 2 of the Code of Ordinances of the Parish of Caddo as amended, the Caddo Parish Unified Development Code, by amending the zoning of property located on the north side of Florno Lucas Road, approximately 515 feet west of Florno Lucas Road, approximately 515 feet west of Winderweedle Road, Caddo Parish, Louisiana, from RA Rural Agriculture District to RA PUD Rural Agricultural Planned Unit Development District and to otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I'd like a motion that we overturn the ruling of the MPC relative to 2113P.
Been moved by Commissioner Epperson and seconded by the chair to overturn the ruling of the MPC. Commissioner Epperson,
Yes.
you want to speak to you?
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, as you and everyone else know, as well as all of my constituents throughout my tenure as an elected official, it's always been my philosophy to maintain the integrity of neighborhoods, especially when there have to be zoning changes and creating different terminologies and things to break up a residential neighborhood. I've always ruled in favor of the residents within that area because it is so important that we keep nice neighborhoods that's compatible with everything being the same. Whereas we can grow these neighborhoods and people will want to come to Caddo Parish. There's plenty of room for industrial and commercial development throughout this parish without changing the integrity of a residential neighborhood. And I will ask your support in voting to overturn the MPC's ruling relative to this particular case on behalf of the residents of that area. Thank you.
Commissioner Hopkins.
You know, my concern on this is that we're overturning a board vote from them that was in favor of. And if you look at the map behind it, I mean, it's all industrial. So you're talking about going from RA to a RA spud. And from what the notes say in this, that they're going to do plenty of screening and things. I just don't, I mean, I don't support overturning it at this time. That's all I have.
May I have a comment, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, you can have the floor. Second time.
I've heard of numerous aspects of screening and putting up shrubbery and all that. I can show you so many areas throughout this parish, whereas this was a part of the plan, and it looks absolutely trashy. They put up shrubs and things initially, and they didn't take care of them. However, the main gist is those businesses that surrounding that area were in commercial districts. They were not changed as this individual is asking on that particular street. So that's the nature of that. And once again, I respect what you have in reference to your constituents, and I would ask that you would do the same for my constituents as their wishes. Thank you.
Commissioner Chavez.
Thank you, Chairman. Just a question for the legal. What happens if we side with Epperson and vote to hear the will of his neighbors? What happens next from a legal standpoint?
Commissioner, from a legal standpoint, then the area does not change. Either affected party can always seek to have your decision overturned via a lawsuit.
And that would be one where you would have to go defend us in district court?
Yes.
How many times have we had to do a situation like this where we want to side with the people and we end up getting sued?
We have one lawsuit I know currently pending for that, where I won't say side with the people, I will say overturn the decision of the MPC. And I know we have one pending lawsuit due to that now.
Have we ever had one in the past, a similar situation? And if so, what was the outcome?
In the years that I've been here, in the 16 years, the only other lawsuit that I've handled that involved an MPC determination was, I believe the MPC decided not to subdivide a residential piece of property, and those owners, and the commission sided with the MPC, and those owners are appealed and we won, but I've not in the past 16 years seen a case where we've had a case where we, the commission decided to overrule the MPC and then been sued. So I don't have that information.
All right, and then last question, Attorney Frazier, from a standpoint of a lawsuit rendered, what do we stand to lose from the parish if there's a ruling in favor of the person that brings forth the lawsuit? Is that a monetary loss?
You can have monetary losses because that person can sue and receive their attorney fees and costs, as well as any damages that they can prove that they suffered because of the decision and have the decision overturned.
Okay, thank you, Attorney Frazier. And then Chairman, I don't know who to ask this to, but my last question is, does the person that's asking for the zoning change, they own the property right now, don't they?
Yes, they do.
Okay. Thank you. That's all, Chairman.
Okay. Seeing no one else, roll call, please.
All right, Commissioner Hopkins,
No.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson. Commissioner Jackson, I didn't hear you.
Yes, overturned, right?
Yes, it's to overturn.
Okay, yes.
Okay, Commissioner Young,
No.
Commissioner Burrell,
Yes.
Commissioner Cawthorn, Commissioner Gage Watts, Commissioner Talaferro.
Yes.
Oh, thank you, Commissioner Gage Watts. Commissioner Talaferro,
No.
Commissioner Atkins, Commissioner Chavez,
Yes.
Commissioner Laswell,
No.
and Commissioner Epperson.
Yes.
Okay, I'm counting 6 in support, 4 in opposition, and 2 absent. That sounds correct? Yeah.
Yes.
Right. Okay. So let's see. So that's a majority of those present. But do we need 7 to overturn?
We need to come back to that, Mr. Clerk, and we'll announce the decision. I'm looking up the particular statute because we haven't had a situation where we hadn't had the 7 votes before.
Thank you. Yeah, because if we had a full attendance, it would be an easier. I don't know what we do when we have. Do you want to continue with the next item, and then we'll come back when we have a determination?
Yes, we'll make the ruling on that. Okay.
Yeah, as soon as we're able to confirm it, we'll re-announce
Next
that.
item.
The next item is going to be 12.1. That's ordinance number 6099 of 2021. That's an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures. I'm sorry. It's an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the American Rescue Plan Fund to provide an appropriation for vaccine and pandemic coordination efforts and to otherwise provide with respect thereto.
A motion to remove. This is the one that needs to be removed, I believe.
Second.
Erica, Haley, somebody, isn't this the one? Because we already got this, right? So we don't need it, I believe.
Correct.
It's been moved by Commissioner Jackson and seconded by Commissioner Epperson to remove ordinance number 6099 of 2021. Commissioner Jackson, you want to speak to your motion now?
No, we adopted one in the ARP committee, so this one is not necessary at this time.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Hopkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson,
Yes.
Commissioner Young,
Yes.
Commissioner Burrell,
Yes.
Commissioner Cawthorn, Commissioner Gage Watts, Commissioner Talaferro,
Yes.
Yes.
Commissioner Atkins, Commissioner Chavez,
Yes.
Commissioner Lazarus,
Yes.
and Commissioner Epperson.
Yes.
All right, that motion passes with 10 in support and 2 none in opposition and 2 absent. And that brings us to the next item, which is ordinance number 6101 of 2021. It's an ordinance amending and reenacting section 32-46.1 of the Caddo Parish Code of Ordinances regarding the carrying of weapons and otherwise providing with respect thereto. This was one that administration brought up regarding the juvenile justice facility, I believe.
What we doing here?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Who made the motion?
Roy.
I did. Burrell.
Been moved by Commissioner Burrell, seconded by Commissioner Young. Commissioner Burrell, you want to speak to your motion on ordinance number 6101 of 2021?
No more than I think that it's needed. If the administration say that we need it, I think we need it.
Okay. But I also feel this is a step in the right direction, but it's not really gonna prohibit the real deal of an actual act of violence. I wanted to have more teeth to it, wanted to do a little bit more than just this and having a sign placed and someone to go check the individual if they see a weapon on a person. And this might be something that we might look at as a 5-year capital project to actually keep this from becoming something that could hurt someone in the future. Commissioner Hopkins.
I have a question, legal. On this, we currently, the ordinance we have doesn't include the parking lot. Is that correct?
The ordinance we currently have does not include the parking lot, correct?
So, okay, and I guess my statement is, one of the problems I have with this is there's a lot of people that carry their weapons in their vehicle. They park it, they lock it, and they go and do their business. And I'm afraid we may end up making criminals out of people that are not really criminals, because if I've got a custody battle and I go to and park my car and lock it up, but my ex-wife, we're not having real good relationship right now on this custody. All she's got to do is go to one of the staff or the officer up there and say, my ex-husband has a gun. Do they go to their vehicle? I guess it still is a question. Do they go to their vehicle, and are they able to enter that vehicle at that time if this passes?
Commissioner, basically before an officer can search, he's going to have a reasonable suspicion or probable cause or something of that nature. I don't think any officer is going to actually go and conduct a search unless he goes and sees something that's out of the ordinary, which is what spurred this ordinance. If he didn't have something to indicate to him that he's actually seeing with his own eyes that there could be a problem, then I don't think you'll have any more searches of vehicles than you currently have.
Okay, because I know if someone brandishes a gun or a weapon of any kind in a motion like or anything like that, that's now a problem. But I do have my concern is still, I pull up to that facility to go visit. I've got my weapon with me, lock it up, and then something out of my control happens. Someone complains, don't like me. There's a lot of people like running around that don't like me. Say he's got a gun on the facility. Now I'm concerned about them going at that point, going out and being able to go through that vehicle and then getting arrested. So that's my concern. Thank you.
But isn't that unlawful search and seizure?
They've had a complaint, they've had someone come to an officer or a staff and say, so-and-so's got a gun on the premises.
But it's not
So,
probable cause.
Is it or is it not? I mean, I don't know.
Well, the attorney just
I
said
don't
that.
think if the officer goes and doesn't see anything to substantiate what he's been told, there's no need for him to go any further.
I'm finished. Thank you.
Commissioner Talaferro.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. Attorney Frazier, the way I read it, and you and I have had these conversations regarding the vehicle carry extension of your home situation in Louisiana. The way I read this is in item G. It says no person shall carry. I don't believe that has anything to do with in your vehicle. It says carry any firearm or explosives on the parish grounds. Is that what I'm assuming or presuming or understanding?
Well, Commissioner, I do think that if you are carrying the vehicle in your car on the parish grounds, say for instance, they walk up to your car and they see you brandishing this vehicle in your car or sitting with it within easy reach, then yes, I think that is a problem. And I think one thing that you have to remember and make a distinction of, you have this exact same law already at the parish courthouse, at the district courthouse. However, there's no parking lot at the district courthouse. If there were a parking lot, this would be the exact same statute that's at the district courthouse right now. And there are other places to park to get into the courthouse at Juvenile other than on the parking lot, which are close enough for people to walk into court. All they have to do is park on the street outside, like they would do if they were over here going to court.
Yes, ma'am. I do understand that. I'm just looking at the terminology. When you say carry, I mean, there's a reason there's open carry and there's concealed carry, and that's because it's on the person themselves. It has nothing to do with the legality of possessing a weapon, and maybe it's the terminology. Now, you can't possess a weapon on the grounds, which means you probably should not have it in your vehicle. But it does say carry, so which leads me to believe it is carried on that person, which is fine. I'm okay with that. They don't need to be open carry or concealed carry, going to a courtroom. I mean, it's just law officers have the opportunity to do that, or they can choose to leave their weapon in their car, in their glove box, just like a normal citizen can. That was all. That was it. I just wanted clarification. For me, it's carry, which means on my person, not in my vehicle. Thank you, Mr. President.
Commissioner Shelby.
Thank you, Chairman. Are there currently, maybe a Dr. Wilson question, are there currently signs in the parking lot when you pull in, similar to the handicap sign that state must leave weapon in the vehicle? Is there anything like that indication?
Commissioner, I'm not aware of those signs.
I haven't seen any either. I'm going to be voting no on this because I feel like what Commissioner Hopkins said, we may make some criminals unwillingly. I would hate to have a situation where maybe a family living out of their car shows up to represent one of their children at juvenile court, and their house is their car. They're homeless, and their weapon they leave in their car thinking they're doing the lawful thing, and then they get in trouble. So I see the intended purpose for this, but it could have some unintended consequences. So I'll be voting no. However, if this does, if it does not pass, I would like to see facility get some signs to at least let people know to leave guns in the vehicles in the car. Thanks, President.
Commissioner Jackson.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to postpone this until the next meeting at this time. Yes.
I'll second that.
Been moved by Commissioner Jackson, seconded by Commissioner Burrell to postpone to next regular session meeting. Commissioner Jackson, you want to speak to that motion?
Yeah, I think it sounds like there's an issue there's an issue of being on you and in the car. And I agree, if, you have somebody who is just, they got the ability to carry or whatever, and it's in their car, and then, sheriff's deputy is down there doing something else and just happen to come up on that person, then something may happen in that case, or it is reality that some people's vehicles are their cars. So I think what we need to try to figure out is, how can we distinguish between having the weapon on them with the intent to bring it into the courthouse versus, just having the weapon in the car, in the vehicle, or something like that. So I think maybe we need to probably talk through it a little bit. I think the last time we did this, we had a lot of discussion on it, and we ended up not meeting, and things just kind of just fell by the wayside. So I think maybe some additional questions or some additional conversation to tweak, I think, the language about like, what's the parking lot? Because I agree with what Attorney Frazier said, is you don't have a parking lot at the courthouse. And so clearly, if somebody's bringing a gun to the courthouse, then that means they intended to bring it in there. Whereas the situation is much different at Juvenile, where it's sort of curbside, you pull right up in front of it. And so I think maybe we need to just have some additional discussions around the proximity piece of what we're looking at, and follow up at that time.
Point of information, Mr. Chairman.
All right, I'll get to you after Commissioner Gage Watts and Attorney Frazier. Commissioner Gage Watts.
Thank you, Mr. President. My question is, Attorney Frazier, and you may not be aware or knowledgeable of what I'm going to ask you. When you drive on campus, on any Caddo Parish school campus, there's a sign that says no firearms on property.
Yes, ma'am. I believe that is correct.
Okay. So should our ordinance reflect not to have any firearms on the property?
Commissioner, I believe the way that I believe the current amendment would actually do that.
Okay. And I thank you. I wanted to bring that to everyone's attention to say that I do understand a lot of reservations about it, because what you're saying to the public, but our job is to always ultimately make sure that we are providing public safety. And if we've already been warned, there's always destruction after you've been warned that there's an issue being at the juvenile detention center, having access to easily pull to the curb and have someone in your car, that has a weapon, whether they're brandishing it or not. Simply saying, if they could park across the street or another location, if that is their home as a car, there are options there. But ultimately, we need to do the right thing, and that is to protect our citizens. So I will not be supporting a motion to delay this. I think we need to move forward today. Thank you.
Commissioner Burrell.
Maybe it's just a point of clarification. We're not saying that you can't have one in the car in the parking lot. Are we?
I read it.
If you, the way it reads, yes, you cannot have firearms on the property, period.
Okay,
It's exactly like you can't have firearms on school property.
okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Seeing no one else, we will vote on the substitute motion first,
Can I?
and
can I ask a
then
question?
that fails.
I'm sorry. I was,
Yeah, I'm just trying to get everything straightened out. So we'll vote on substitute motion first. That fails, we'll go to the original motion. Commissioner Jackson.
yeah, Attorney Frazier, so are there exemptions to those rules? Like when you go onto a school property and that sign is there, and I know they have like the little firearm with the abandoned sign or wherever crossed out over it. Are there exceptions to those rules, or is it just everybody, any and everybody? Like, of course, obviously, if you are a sworn police officer, you're obviously exempt, but what about folks who might work like for a private security firm or, you know, stuff like that? Are there exceptions to those?
I would have to check on that. As far as I know, the only exception would be a school resource officer, whether or not I guess that's private security or law enforcement, but I think that would be the only exception, but I can check on that.
And could you check on enforcement of it? Because I'd be interested to know how they are enforcing it. Like if, you know, somebody's headed to go to deer hunting. I think deer season starts up in a couple of weeks. They head to go deer hunting and, you know, they dropping the kid off, you know, and somebody looks down and see a weapon in the car. Does that immediately send off a reaction and things like this? I just, you know, I agree public safety has to be, because I think they deal with some pretty volatile issues over in juvenile court, particularly around custody issues. And so emotions run high. So I would hate to see a situation. I would hate to see a situation where if we fail to do anything, the consequences could be fatal and severe. But then I don't want to see people just kind of punished or over policed because of that, unintended consequences. So I'm a little cautious of both sides of it, to be honest, kind of torn on it. So if you could look into that for us as well, the enforcement aspect of it as well, I'd appreciate it.
Sure.
That's it for me. Thank you.
Like I mentioned earlier, I think this is a one step of many steps that need to take place. Because if you park on the grass, as they typically do, this does not cover them. They park on the street, does not cover them. So I just don't want us to end with just putting these signs up saying that you cannot have it on the property. We need to do more than that. Roll call, Mr. Clerk, on the substitute motion.
Okay, this is on the substitute motion from Commissioner Jackson, seconded by Commissioner Burrell to postpone 6101. Commissioner Hopkins.
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson.
No.
Commissioner Jackson.
Yes.
Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Commissioner Burrell.
Yes.
Commissioner Cawthorn. Commissioner.
No.
I'm sorry,
You there?
I didn't hear.
Said no.
Okay, that was Commissioner Cawthorn said no.
No.
Commissioner Gage Watts.
No.
Commissioner Talaferro.
Yes.
Commissioner Atkins. Commissioner Chavez.
Yes.
Commissioner Lazarus.
Yes.
And Commissioner Epperson.
No.
Okay. Okay, I've got 7 in support, 4 in opposition, and 2 absent, so that motion does carry to postpone. And just as an update to the previous discussion regarding the overruling of the MPC on Ordinance 6083, the parish attorney and I have had a chance to confer, and I believe we agree. We believe that it carries. with 6 in support, 4 in opposition, and 2 opposed, because that is a majority passage, because it would have been different had the motion been to adopt the ordinance. You would not have had the required 7 to adopt, but being that it's a motion to overturn, you did have a majority of those present. And so that's what it looks like. We did consult both the bylaws and Robert's rules, and that looks like how that one's called. So just wanted to clarify that.
Jill,
Yes.
on that ordinance we just postponed for the next regular session,
Yes.
I'm gonna send that to a committee
Okay.
and let them hash that out some before we see it again as a full body.
Okay. Did you want that to go to policies and procedures or juvenile justice, or just let me know?
Juvenile justice.
Okay.
Juvenile justice.
Okay. All right, I made that note and we'll get that. And that brings us to the next agenda item, which is ordinance number 6104 of 2021. It's an ordinance amending the budgets of estimated revenues and expenditures for the Building Maintenance Fund, the Capital Improvement Fund, the General Fund, Parks and Recreation Fund, Oil and Gas Fund, Public Works Fund, Detention Facilities Fund, Juvenile Justice Fund, Riverboat Fund, and the Solid Waste Fund for the year 2021 to terminate completed or lapsed capital projects and to otherwise provide with respect thereto.
So moved.
Second.
I'm sorry, I heard a motion in a
Moved by-
second, but I couldn't tell who.
Who made the
Jackson.
motion?
Jackson on the second, Todd on the motion.
Been moved by Commissioner Hopkins, seconded by Commissioner Jackson to adopt ordinance number 6104 of 2021. Commissioner Hopkins, want to speak to your motion?
No, sir.
Okay. I would like to in globo and adopt ordinance 6104, 6105, 6106.
Second.
Been moved by the chair to in global and adopt ordinance 6104, 6105, 6106. Commissioner Jackson, want to speak to any one of those? Your hand is up.
I'd actually like to offer up a substitute motion to add in 6107, 6108, and 6110.
That's fine. I accept that.
All right.
So let me just make sure I have this correct. It's 6104, 6105, 6106, 6107, 6108, and 6110.
Yes.
Okay, great. And all right, so was there any discussion on that, or are y'all ready?
Roll call. I don't see any hands.
Okay. Commissioner Hopkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson,
Yes.
Commissioner Young,
Yes.
Commissioner Burrell,
Yes.
Commissioner Cawthorn,
Yes.
Commissioner Gage Watts,
Yes.
Commissioner Talaferro,
Yes.
Commissioner Atkins, Commissioner Chavez,
Yes.
Commissioner Lazarus,
Yes.
and Commissioner Epperson.
Yes.
All right, that motion carries with 11 in support and 1 absent. And that brings us all the way down to zoning ordinances for introduction by title. And today you just have one in this section. It's to introduce ordinance number 6102 of 2021 in relation to zoning case 21-27-P. It's an ordinance to amend volume 2 of the Code of Ordinances of the Parish of Caddo as amended the Caddo Parish Unified Development Code by amending the zoning of property located on the north side of Ellaby Road at the end of Redrick Drive, Caddo Parish, Louisiana, from R17 Single Family Residential District to C1 Neighborhood Commercial District, and to otherwise provide with respect thereto. That is in District 10, by the way. There was a question about that earlier. And that brings us now to the next item on your agenda, ordinances for introduction by title. We have a few ordinances for introduction today. The first item being the introduction of ordinance number 6103 of 2021. It's an ordinance creating the Amazon TIF district, the state of Louisiana, defining the boundaries thereof, from which area local sales tax, property tax, and hotel occupancy tax increments will be determined and used to finance economic development projects in accordance with and as authorized by Part 2 of Chapter 27 of Title 33 of the Louisiana Revised Statutes of 1950 as amended, and providing for other matters in connection with the foregoing. The next item is the introduction of ordinance number 6112 of 2021. It's an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues for the American Rescue Plan Fund to provide an appropriation for Caddo Parish Juvenile Court and to otherwise provide with respect thereto. The next item is the introduction of ordinance number 6113 of 2021. It's an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues for the American Rescue Plan Fund to provide an appropriation for Volunteers for Youth Justice for truancy and to otherwise provide with respect thereto. The next item is to introduce, I'm sorry, there's some feedback there. The next item is to introduce ordinance number 6114 of 2021, an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues for the American Rescue Plan Fund to provide an appropriation of up to $30,000 for Red G Enterprises and otherwise provide with respect thereto. The next item is to introduce ordinance number 6115 of 2021, an ordinance to enact sections 32-115 through 32-118 of the Code of Ordinances of Caddo Parish relative to curfews, to provide for a curfew for persons under 18 years of age, to provide for penalties for violation of said curfew, and to otherwise provide with respect thereto. And that brings us to the end of the items for introduction today. And our next item on the agenda today is the adoption of the work session minutes.
Move to adopt.
Second.
And moved by the chair,
Second.
seconded by Commissioner Cawthorn, I think. Oh, Talaferro. All right. Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Hopkins, Commissioner Hopkins, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson,
Yeah.
Commissioner Young,
Yes.
Commissioner Burrell,
Yes.
Commissioner Cawthorn,
Yay.
Commissioner Gage White,
Yes.
Commissioner Talaferro,
Yes.
Commissioner Atkins. I'm sorry, Commissioner Chavez,
Yes.
Commissioner Lazarus,
Yes.
and Commissioner Epperson.
Yes.
All right, that motion carries with 11 in support, none in opposition, and 1 absent. And that brings us to resolutions, where you have a few resolutions today. I believe we have 4 on the agenda today. The first item is resolution number 64 of 2021. So resolution requesting the Registrar of Voters and Caddo Parish Administrator to take all necessary action to add an early voting location at the Shreve Memorial Hamilton Library and otherwise providing with respect thereto.
So moved.
Been moved by Commissioner Chavez, seconded by
Jackson.
Commissioner Jackson. Commissioner Chavez, you want to speak to your motion on the resolution 64, 2021?
We've just reviewed this a lot, and this seemed like a great location, and everybody was in accordance. So I'd like to see this done. Thank you.
All right, Commissioner Lazarus.
I'd like to make a motion to englobo and adopt resolution 64, 65, 69, and 70.
Second.
Been moved by Commissioner Lazarus to englobo and adopt resolution 64, 65, 69, and 70. And
Okay.
seconded by Commissioner Jackson. Commissioner Lazarus, you want to speak to that motion?
No, sir.
Okay, Commissioner Jackson.
Yes, very briefly, on the early voting location, I did talk to the registrar of voters. Just want everybody to understand, I believe their target date is the spring 22 election. So that's what they're targeting. And, you know, he kind of want to make that clear, is spring 22 is their target. Maybe done before, but they're definitely their target. Their hard target is spring 2022. So, and then for the Amazon TIF resolution. This is just a notice of intent. This does not set the district up. This is just an advertising requirement. It has to be advertised twice in the official journal, Jeff, or any journal.
It's the official journal that we'll advertise in.
Okay, this is just the advertising of the official journal. I still have at least one more meeting that I need to do, that I plan to do, and that I have spoke with representatives from Amazon. Mrs. Bryant joined that call on last Friday. Amazon clearly stated that they have no problems with setting up the TIF district. The councilperson, the councilwoman for that area is in favor of this, as well as the school board member is in favor of setting that up. And so we'll have some additional dialogue. I encourage anyone with questions, if you feel it's best to put your questions in writing, I don't mind developing an FAQ. I believe that's what ultimately we'll do for the ordinances, develop an FAQ so that questions are answered very thoroughly, and you can actually have it to refer to. So if you have questions, feel free to email them to either myself or to the clerk, and we're going to put an FAQ together to be attached to the actual ordinance. That's it for me. Thank you.
Commissioner Watts.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to make a substitute motion to ask for a request to consider an alternate satellite location at Louisiana State Museum.
I'll second that one. Got a motion to also request that the Louisiana State Museum be added as a second satellite location. Commissioner Gage Watts, you want to speak to your motion?
Yes, Mr. President, thank you. Commissioners, I make this request based on the initial request for a satellite location. We believe that it's advantageous to have an additional location, but we also want to be able to serve all of our community. From the beginning, I think that all of us have been very passionate about it, and maybe no one has been quite as passionate as I have about adding this additional satellite location. As excited as I am that we are at this point, and over the years, as many times as it has been introduced, I do believe that we will do more justice for our citizens by providing this additional location. So after talking with Mr. Sibley, when he came before the commission, and a lot of the questions that were posed about the Louisiana State Museum, I just believe that it still should be considered in this process. Thank you.
Commissioner Hopkins.
Yeah, this is a satellite early voting. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
So don't we have to go to the legislature to do that?
Yes,
we
we do.
have more than one.
It's not
Okay.
it's not the legislature. I believe the Secretary of State has to give final approval for the voting location.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Commissioner Jackson, your hand up, or that's
Yes, it's back up. I just want to, so Commissioner Gage, I don't have a problem with that being, is that an amendment that you want to have? Because we do have in the legislation, be it further resolved that the parish administrator and the registrar of voter are urged to continue to work with the North Louisiana legislative delegation to establish additional early voting locations throughout Caddo Parish. Do we want to just be specific and say at that point in this area, Louisiana State Museum? Because I guess what we're trying to make clear here is that we want them to go ahead and move forward with the Southern Hills area, but we want them to continue to consider, I believe, the State Museum, and then Todd was looking at one up in the northern part of the parish. So is that what you're saying is just, we want to include that in our resolution here?
Yes, my amendment, yes. to
Okay.
answer your question, is to add Louisiana State Museum.
For future consideration is what you're saying.
Yes.
Okay, okay, all right. Did you catch that, Jeff?
I did.
Okay.
Is that it, everybody?
Yeah, that's it.
Think I see.
Commissioner Hopkins, your hand back up?
Yes, sir. I'd like to amend that amendment to also add the Louisiana State Oil and Gas Museum in Oil City as a location to be determined by the Secretary of State.
Second.
Been moved by Commissioner Hopkins to add the Louisiana Oil and Gas Museum up in Vivian,
Oil City.
and seconded by All City, and seconded by Commissioner Lazarus. You want to speak to that motion?
I just say, since it's a state facility already, that it has the capability with the lines, the proper lines and things like that, that's required. If we're gonna, that's fine to look at the regular museum, but let's also look at the oil and gas museum. That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay. I guess what you just said, it goes back to, I guess, when we first started these talks, and we all know that the Louisiana State Fair Museum already has those dedicated lines, and I believe it also already has a generator. And these are things that we're gonna have to add to the Southern Hills Library. And most of the time, people that sit around the horseshoe are always talking about making sure that we spend tax dollars wisely. And if you already have a facility that already has this line dedicated and it already has a generator, that it could be a plug and play, like I've always said, why don't we use that? Why shouldn't that be our primary and then these other ones be secondary? And it boiled down to the location of where it was. I heard stories about, the area. They didn't feel comfortable going there, but it's early voting. Most people go early vote in the daytime. There's nothing going on over there in the daytime. So it just surprised me how we coming up with these other locations, and that should have been our main one. Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Okay, now this is for the this
Point
is
of clarification.
Amendment. That's on the amendment of the substitute.
I had a point of clarification on Todd's amendment.
Go ahead.
Todd, is that for future? Is that for the future look? Or is
Yes. I'm not trying to replace what has already been approved. I'm just, we said that we would look in the future, and I think both these locations would be it.
Right. Okay. All right. Just want to make sure we're all right.
okay.
Roll
So
call.
are we clear? This is on the amendment to the amendment to add the Louisiana Oil and Gas Museum in Oil City. Commissioner Hopkins.
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson.
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson.
Yes.
Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Commissioner Burrell.
Yes.
Commissioner Cawthorn.
Yay.
Commissioner Gage Watts.
Yes.
Commissioner Talaferro.
Yes.
Commissioner Atkins. Commissioner Chavez.
Yes.
Commissioner Lazarus.
Yes.
And Commissioner Epperson.
Yes.
All right, that motion carries with 11 in support, none in opposition, and 1 absent.
Now we need to vote. Now we need to vote on the Globo and adoption, and as that resolution was amended.
Yeah, so the next one is that the amendment to Englobo and adopt those with that change.
Correct.
So everybody's clear on that? Okay. Commissioner Hopkins.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
Somebody needed to mute their phone. Keep going.
Commissioner Hopkins.
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson.
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson,
Yes.
Commissioner Young,
Yes.
Commissioner Burrell,
Yes.
Commissioner Cawthorn. Commissioner Cawthorn,
Yay.
thank you. Commissioner Gage Watts,
Yes.
Commissioner Talaferro,
Yes.
Commissioner Atkins, Commissioner Chavez,
Yes.
Commissioner Lazarus,
Yes.
and Commissioner Epperson.
Yes.
All right, that motion carries with 11 in support, none in opposition, and 1 absent to adopt all of those items with that change to the initial one. And that brings us to old business, where we have 1 item today, which is the consideration of confirmation of appointments to the Juvenile Justice Citizens Advisory Committee. Just as a clarification here, some of you have submitted additional appointments to this committee, but they were not yet on a consent agenda or advanced to a final agenda yet. So these ones that you see before you today are the ones that have been advanced through that were eligible for today.
Question, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, question. Point of information.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, Jeff, you know, I submitted one, so when would it come up next?
It'd be on the next either in-person agenda or, you know, should it be chosen to be added to another agenda that is, you know, done by teleconference that for, you know, if some situation changes and it's approved for that. But certainly in the next in-person agenda, it would be on there. So it's in our holding area right now. So we do have it and it's ready to roll.
I have a question. To legal, I guess. Why they couldn't be added now as a substitute motion?
Commissioner, I don't see why they couldn't. I just don't know if their resumes are available to you.
I believe I do have the resumes available. If you wanted to do that, I could send them out real quick.
What was the qualification?
Well, it's essentially just that they provide a resume and that they live in the parish. You know, other than that, it was up to the determination of the commission member to appoint somebody that they felt appropriately could contribute to that committee. So that there weren't.
So basically, if Commissioner Burrell or Commissioner Chavez had somebody to add, we can ask the question: do you have a resume for that person, and do they stay in Caddo Parish? And that's all we really need.
Yes, and if you hold one moment, I will pull those up in my computer, and I can let you know which ones of those.
Yeah, I know mine was on the last agenda, but it was struck because of the teleconferencing deal.
Yeah, it didn't get addressed through teleconference. So one moment, I'm gonna call that up on my computer program. And
yeah, mine was Miguel Parson.
And there was at least another 1 or 2 that were with it. So you'll hold just a sec. We'll get to those. I'm almost there, guys. Thanks for your patience. And yeah, I have two additional ones that I have resumes for that are ready to roll, which are Candy Beard for District 8 and Miguel Parsons for District 5, both of whom do have resumes and did check out for the requirements.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Somebody who's talking. Commissioner Burrell, you had something to say?
I was gonna do a substitute motion to add it, Mr. Chairman, add those.
Okay. Been moved by Commissioner Burrell to add both, or just yours?
Both.
All right. It's been
Second.
been a motion. Been motion by Commissioner Burrell to add both candidates for the what is it called, Juvenile Justice Citizens Advisory Committee, and it's been seconded by Commissioner Epperson. Those names, Mr. Clerk, so you can put that into the motion.
Yeah, those names are Candy Beard, who is the District 8 appointment, and Miguel Parsons, who is the District 5 appointment.
All right. Commissioner Chavez.
Thank you, Chairman. On the question, what is the expiration date for this? Because I have a candidate that would like to serve, but I have to send you over his resume.
We're still taking resumes, so if you want to send that over, we can get it on the next agenda.
Okay, I'll do that. I'll hang tight and I'll shoot it over to you.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Chairman.
Be happy to help.
All right, seeing no one else, we'll vote on the substitute motion, which would be to add those two names with the rest of the names.
And for clarification, is that motion to add those names and adopt? Or just to add the names?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Add the names and adopt.
That's what I thought. Okay. Commissioner Hopkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson,
Yes.
Commissioner Young,
Yes.
Commissioner Burrell,
Yes.
Commissioner Coughlin,
Yay.
Commissioner Gage Watts,
Yes.
Commissioner Talaferro,
Yes.
Commissioner Atkins, Commissioner Chavez,
Yes.
Commissioner Lazarus,
Yes.
and Commissioner Epperson.
Yes.
All right, that motion carries with 11 in support, none in opposition, and 1 absent. And that brings us to new business, where you have 1 item today. The 1 item under new business is to adopt the recommendations of the Alcoholic Beverage Committee for selling to underage persons during its September 7th, 2021 meeting. And there is a list of those people who had offenses, and
It's been moved by Commissioner Hopkins and seconded by the chair.
Mr. Chairman.
Well, Commissioner Hopkins, you want to speak to your motion? Then I get you, Commissioner Epperson.
These recommendations come from the Alcohol Beverage Committee that met. And we had testimony both from the Sheriff's Department and each one of the vendors that was involved. And so this was the recommendation to bring to the body itself. Thank you.
Commissioner Epperson.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to ask the commission clerk if he would read those names, those establishments, and the fines that were rendered.
Absolutely. So initially it's Daiquiri Express. It was their second offense and it was a $500 fine. The next one is General Store. That was their second offense and that was a $500 fine. The next one is Stonewall Beverage Company, a third offense and a $1,000 fine. The next one was Lick Skillet Liquor. Their first offense was a $250 fine. The next one is Lick Skillet Liquor as well, and their second offense was a $250 fine. And the third offense for Lick Skillet Liquor was a $1,000 fine.
Okay, and Mr. Chairman, if I also may ask Mr. Hopkins, the chairman of that committee, to explain what that is for some first-time visitors that may not be familiar with that process.
What happens is that the Sheriff's Department runs an underage event where they check businesses for selling to minors. And these businesses were checked and they failed to comply with the law. So they were written a ticket, one to the actual clerk, which goes to district court, and then the business itself was written a ticket or written a summons to come to the Alcohol Beverage Committee for a hearing, and that's how it goes. Then once we're finished, it goes to the full body to approve, and then the letters go out to the vendors themselves and have usually 30 days to pay that amount. Anything else, Mr. Epperson, you want?
Thank you.
Okay, are y'all ready for a roll call vote on that?
Yes.
Okay, Commissioner Hopkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson,
Yes.
Commissioner Young,
Yes.
Commissioner Burrell, Commissioner Cawthorn,
Yay.
and Commissioner Burrell, I don't know if you voted. I did not hear a vote, so see, he's on the line, but I didn't hear. Okay, Commissioner Gage Watts.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Talaferro,
Yes.
Commissioner Atkins, and Commissioner Chavez. Commissioner Chavez?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Lazarus
Yes.
and Commissioner Epperson.
Yes.
All right,
Jeff, did you get my yes? I'm sorry, it cut out.
I did. Yeah, I didn't hear you at first, but then I did hear it. It was just a delay. Thank you. I did not hear Commissioner Burrell though, if you voted. But that motion carries. It was 10 in support and 2 absent is what I counted, and none in opposition. So that brings us to communiques and committee reports. For the first item is under communiques and committee reports as administration's response to information requests from commissioners.
Oh, commissioners, I'm gonna turn my camera off. I'm having issues with my camera. The administration does not have much to add from Monday's report. We did, however, did not mention where we are on the I-49 signs. We have received all the approvals from the state, and we are in the process of getting quotes for that project. And that's all we have. We'll take any questions.
Mr. Jackson.
I don't have any questions or anything.
Okay, any commissioner has any questions? We'll move on to communiques. Commissioner Jackson.
Yes, want to thank administration, particularly Parks and Recreation, Patrick, Doug, and Shreveport Green attended a neighborhood association meeting over in Cherokee Park. And for years, we have worked on addressing the issue of the drainage ditch. And the residents are so glad that there is a immediate, mid-range, and a long-term plan. And I also want to thank Councilwoman Taylor as well. I know I've been singing her praises the last couple of days in meetings that I've been in. But, you know, her thing was, let's not continue to talk around the issue. Let's figure out a way to get it done. And so Doug was with us on Tuesday, talking to those residents. Donna Curtis came by, and Dr. Yon Sol came by from the Watershed Protectors. And this is something that has been worked on even before I got on the parish commission. My predecessor, Commissioner Williams, Councilman Lester, they worked on it as well. And it's been a long time for us to get to the point where we're at, where we think we have a plan. We believe by Friday, October 1st, that ditch will be completely cleared out. It'll be cleaned up. And then from there, there's going to be a catchment net that's going to be able to pull that debris out, as well as some long-term plans to educate citizens in that area about and get them involved in being able to get back there to clean it out so that we could take pride in those neighborhoods. But I want to thank them for that. This is something that we've worked very diligently and very hard on. Dr. Wilson is not here today. So Ms. Bryant, let him know that I appreciate him and the team for doing that. I believe September 29th is the day for the USDA call. We'll share that. So if you want to attend that call, that'll highlight our rental assistance program. It's a national recognition to be able to recognize those individuals who have worked behind the scenes. Haley, Erica, Bobby Collins, and our community partners to recognize them for their work, but then to highlight how we've been able to get resources out the door and hopefully be a best practice for the nation on the rental assistance program. I'd also like to just use this time, since we're in communiques, to talk to, and I often refer to the sideline advocates. I was, myself and Councilwoman Taylor were called out today by Mr. Wade Lovelace or Love Wallace or whatever. And Commissioner Johnson, the issue started in your area, Peachtree Apartments. And the city is getting aggressive about addressing property standards. They're getting aggressive about addressing liquor stores and violations from liquor stores. And I had a meeting with the substitute chief where he's talked about some of his plans. And one of the things that I want to encourage the community is we have to decide as a community what it is that we actually want. Because what we cannot do is we cannot jump up and down, be mad, cry, hold prayer vigil after prayer vigil, do GoFundMe after GoFundMe. What is that? Do all these GoFundMes. Then when we get serious, Mr. Clerk, can you mute everybody? And then when we get serious about going forward with plans to address crime and crack down on the elements that create crime, people are upset, up in arms. And so this morning, the city moved a lot of inoperable cars from several apartment complexes, and people got upset. But we have to be serious about making sure that our city is clean and that people can have pride in the neighborhoods that they live in. And so we either gonna ask for this police presence, we're gonna ask for this property standards enforcement, and we have to support it. We cannot have it both ways. We can't look like we live in a war zone and expect peace. And so for those folks who want to jump up and be sensational, come get in this game. Come get in the game. I'll move out the way for some of you to come get down here and try to bring solutions to the table. But I know everybody on this commission, the city council, the school board, we work in and out to try to make this city and parish a better place. And we have to make sure that citizens understand we're going to have to be bold and we're going to have to take some courageous steps to right the ship. We should not be having juveniles and children being killed. You can't go to the movie theater and feel safe. And then they turn around and ask, what are we doing? Well, Wade, our job is to legislate, set policy, and provide resources to the leadership that's out there doing it. So Wade, if you got all the answers, like I said, I've been to 6 neighborhood associations and community meetings over the last week. I hadn't seen him at not one of them, and probably not going to see him. You got to do more than just show up with your iPhone, flashing it around, showing dead bodies on the ground. That's not leadership, that's not activism, and that's not solving anything. We have to work together to get these things done, and we have to support plans that are in place that are going to address these things. So I'm encouraged by what I see the city of Shreveport doing with the code enforcement and property standards. And I think it's going to create an environment that's going to stamp out that criminal element that's been reigning over our city. So my hat's off to the city leadership, to the city council, and to SPD for what I see already that they're doing. Your grass is not meant for your car to go on it. And that's what people got to understand. The grass is not meant for the car. And the motor, you can't become a mechanic in your front yard. And there are just some tough conversations that we have to have as a community about what we want. And then we've got to step back and let those people who we hire to implement it, enforce it. So send my thoughts, or if they're listening, again, I'm proud to see what's going on with policing and code enforcement in this city. Thank you, Mr. And again, I want to encourage, if you got questions about the Amazon tip, if you feel more comfortable putting them in writing, send those to myself or send them to the city council clerk so that we can develop that FAQ and get questions answered as we need to get them answered. Thank you, Mr. President.
Commissioner Chavez.
Thanks, Chairman. We have a neighborhood cleanup this Saturday in Southern Hills. 8 a.m. We're all meeting at Shane's. Little Caesars was gracious enough to provide lunch for everybody. They're doing a national community cleanup, or more of a campaign where they want to showcase all the Little Caesars that are doing things to help out in the community. I actually took your advice, President, and went down there to look at the evacuees. Cool thing was the owner of Little Caesars locally, Mr. Vinny, he wanted to come tag along, and he passed out 100 pizzas to all the evacuees or the refugees from Hurricane Ida. Really nice guy, and he's going to be there this Saturday handing out pizzas and free lunch to all the people that are volunteering to clean up Southern Hills. They're going to have their national camera crew out there to showcase this Little Caesars and what they do for our community. So I would invite any commissioners that want to come out, or any neighbors in Southern Hills, to come out. We're going to go walk from 8:30, walk up the different streets that we have preset, then walk back an hour later, cleaning up the opposite side. And then we're going to have some fellowship, hand out some pizzas, some donuts, and some coffee, and then dismiss everybody. So anyone that wants to come out, I'd love to see you guys. Thank you, Chairman.
All right, we want to call them evacuees. That's what they were. Commissioner Hopkins.
Yes, sir. I just, if you're not going to Mr. Chavez's event at Robert Dance Saturday at 10 o'clock until 1, we will be working to pick up garbage and do things. There's also a dedication. The Tourist Bureau filed for a grant through the byway system, and we received some more things to put at the park as far as seating, picnic tables, 4 of them. And so there'll be a little dedication for that. And then there will be some food served. So if you're out and about and want to run by, if you're on the crossroad, the country crossroad route this weekend, just come on up to Halston. We'd love to have you. Thanks.
Commissioner Epperson.
Yes, sir. I'd like to thank Animal Services. We've had an influx in calls relative to stray cats and dogs and situations, and they have been most expedient in providing services on behalf of the citizens. I have not received not one negative connotation against what they are doing. Matter of fact, I received good reports from all of the citizens that call with the complaints relative to Animal Services. So please convey that to the leadership there. Public Works Department, the same way, been having a lot of issues. We're getting back sort of in the groove from the winter storm, as well as the COVID-19 deal, where we was working with skeleton crews and doing the best we can. Mr. Hankins and all his folks in the South Camp has been doing a wonderful job and getting many compliments from citizens on that behalf. On Saturday, the 25th, Overton Brooks VA Medical Center will begin offering flu shots to all eligible veterans from 8 a.m. until 12 noon this Saturday, September the 25th. Drive through, you do not have to get out your vehicle. Just show your VA card and you can get your flu shot. Homeless situation is becoming very, very bad in West Shreveport, West Caddo. Every day you see somebody standing on the corner with a sign that's panhandling out in front of stores, harassing customers that's coming in and out, begging, sitting up deals where they selling animals and all this stuff. And I don't see if they are homeless and can't take care of themselves and begging for funding, and then they got animals with them, setting up shopping carts and tents and and coverings outside of stores on the Pine Road area, sleeping inside the post office in the Huntington Park branch. Something has to be done. And every day I get someone with some organization that's coming out with some kind of proposal about addressing the needs of homeless. I think there needs to be a coalition and a come to Jesus meeting among all entities within Shreveport and Caddo Parish as to what they are trying to do for the homeless, and they need to come out with a game plan. It appears that everybody wants to do something different and wanting different funding, but this is it's becoming bad. West Shreveport and West Caddo is the gateway for most folks coming from the west heading east. And that's the first thing they see. People on the corner, buggies full of junk, people panhandling out in front of stores. You know, it just doesn't look good. We need to address that. Litter and trash, not only just people throwing things out of their cars. We've got political signs up, and the election was in October of 2019 and 2020. Political signs are still up, and they are in the right of ways. Something's wrong with that. Businesses got signs nailed on phone poles and stuck on I-49 street signs, embroidery services. We buy houses. We unclog drains. Electrician. We repair credit. But you know what? That appears to be in certain areas. The enforcement needs to be equal all over Caddo Parish and the city of Shreveport. So something has to be done there. Thank you.
Commissioner Stormy Gage Watts.
Thank you, Mr. President. In honor of Sickle Cell Awareness Month, the Northwest Louisiana Sickle Cell Disease Foundation will be holding their annual Drive Up and Drop Off Radiothon fundraiser to support sickle cell patients in our area. I am challenging all of my colleagues, all elected officials, to come out between 9 a.m., 6 p.m. and give until it hurts. We weren't able to adopt our Sickle Cell Awareness Month resolution due to the COVID-19 protocols for agenda items. However, this is an ongoing pandemic for many patients right here in Northwest Louisiana and all over the world. And we always support this initiative. I appreciate my colleagues' support, especially for this is a very personal mission of mine. With that being said, I look forward to seeing each of you come by. And if you're not able to come by, there's always a virtual option. You can donate PayPal at Northwest Louisiana scdaa@bellsouth.net. All donations are accepted. No donation is too small, no donation is too large. And Mrs. CAO, I always request to light up the courthouse grounds in honor of Sickle Cell Awareness Month on Saturday. This is the last Saturday in September. Red.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you. In addition, I see your message, Commissioner Jackson. I will send this information to Mr. Clerk Jeff Everson. Thank you. In addition, I want to, and I'm sure that Mr. President will also share this information. Today we had an intergovernmental meeting with the executives team, the mayor's office, the mayor, Superintendent Goree, Director Clay Walker, myself, and several other attorneys that were present on the call to discuss the recent uptick in juvenile crime. And our focus was to address truancy. Of course, Caddo Parish Commission has been very proactive in taking the lead on what has been requested of us to help alleviate a lot of this truancy, and the discussion was began. I think it was a very productive meeting, and we all should look forward to coming together very soon for additional information Commissioner President Lyndon Johnson, I want to say thank you again for bringing us all together to have this discussion. And that will be it. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Watts. Next item, Mr. Clerk. I see no one else hand.
The next item is going to be the president's report.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Gage Watts basically gave you the overview of the meeting we had today with the mayor, the superintendent, the city attorney, the parish attorney, the school board attorney, the parish attorney, the city attorney. We also had Miss Bryan. She sat in for Dr. Wilson, and Clay was on the call. And so what basically we was talking about is truancy. We want people to know that, you know, we're trying to address this issue, and it's not a put it in one governmental entity hand. It belongs to all of us. And so what I wanted to get the buy-in of some of the programs that they're trying to implement, but not only just to say we agree with the program, but how you gonna help that program financially? Because it has to have money in order to work. So there's going to be some follow-up meetings on that, as well as to determine the actual cost instead of some proposed cost. The school board is talked very favorably about that, and actually looking at some locations to house the truancy program once it gets up and running. I also want to mention that on October the 5th is National Night Out, and I'm hoping that each commissioner will find some block party to go attend and, you know, show your face and get to know some of the constituents that you may know or may not know. That will conclude the president report. I like to keep it short and sweet. Next item.
All right, that brings us to citizens' comments, late arrivals, where citizens are asked to either fill out the comment card online or to call us at this point during the meeting. We've not received any online submittals, so I will give out that phone number. It's 318-226-6596. Again, that phone number is 318-226-6596. And do you want to give maybe a minute?
Give them 30 seconds.
Okay.
30 seconds.
Again, that number is 318-226-6596, should anyone want to call. Okay, I don't have any callers on the line. Linda, do you have any callers?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you very much.
Next item.
Next item is adjournment.
So
Move to
Moved by the
adjourn.
chair and
Second.
seconded by Commissioner Hopkins. Goodbye, everybody.